If you're anything like me as a writer, you're a perfectionist, probably pretty hard on yourself, and you're always looking for ways to improve your writing. Well, I'm here to tell you, you've clicked on the right video because today we're going to talk about the top 5 ways to improve your writing quickly, no matter what skill level you have. And this is all going to be based on my over 7 years as a copywriter, blogger, and I also write songs and fiction. So you're really getting some good general tips that will apply to any type of writing that you want to do. Be sure to stick around till the end because tip number 5 is a really big one, and also comment below with any other tips you have, and let's all share our ideas with this community and all grow our writing skills together. So tip number 1 is to write every single day, even if it kind of sucks. Specifically, I want you to get in the habit of free writing because that is one of the best ways for you to prevent writer's block and manage your writerly perfectionism, which we pretty much all struggle with. And when I say free writing, I truly mean just free writing. Don't worry about grammar, don't edit yourself, don't worry about spelling. Just sit down with that blank page in front of you and start writing whatever comes to mind. I really like to use 750words.com for this. Not sponsored. If you guys want to sponsor me, please hit me up because I love the software, but this is really my favorite way to free write. You can see kind of the interface here. You just have a really nice blank page. You don't have all the distractions and everything else you might have if you were just opening up another tab on your computer or a document or something like that. It's truly just that nice clean slate that is distraction free. And something else that's really cool is you kind of get a little analysis of your writing in a way after you're done for the day. You can see what you're feeling, what you were thinking about, and your mindset while writing. So it's a really, really cool little program. I highly encourage you to use it. It's only 750 words. It's easy to knock that out. I think I usually do mine in about 11 to 13 minutes or so. I've certainly gotten a lot faster since I started using it. So yeah, that's another point. This can help you improve your writing speed. But I think the main benefit here is you will stop suffering from that sort of blank page syndrome as a writer once you get used to the idea of sitting down and just writing whatever comes to mind. It kind of desensitizes you to that dreaded blank page, so you overcome your fear and your writer's block and your perfectionism as a result. I can tell you when I made this habit, I saw huge improvements in my writing in general. That little voice in my head that told me I wasn't good enough and that I needed to be scared of the blank page had suddenly gone silent. I really started to have fun with it, and I shifted from perfectionism to just enjoying myself. And I really started embracing the idea of a shitty first draft. This is something that I recommend and embrace whether I'm doing copywriting, blog post writing, songwriting, fiction writing, anything. It's so important to embrace our shitty first drafts, aka our SFDs. We gotta embrace them. We cannot be scared of them because even the best writers will experience this. Free writing on a daily basis gets you really comfortable with knowing that no matter how good of a writer you are, the first thing you write is not gonna be great. As Ernest Hemingway once famously said, the only kind of writing is rewriting. Tip number 2 is to develop your own unique voice, your own unique writing style. Really, the goal with this is for someone to read a piece of your writing and without seeing the author's name, they immediately know that you are the person who wrote it. All because of your distinct style. This applies to every kind of writing, from songwriting to fiction writing and beyond. So I want to ask you, did you ever read the book series, A Series of Unfortunate Events, when you were a kid? Or maybe you're like me and you read those kinds of things as an adult. No judgment here. Those are really interesting books. I remember when I read those as a kid, I went to like my little school library and I picked it up because it looked cool, and I started reading it, and I was just so like entertained and so amused by the writing style in that book. And if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. The author uses this really funny and unique narration style, and I loved it. It was different than anything I'd ever read before, which says a lot because as a kid I was constantly reading. Here I've got an example of his kind of silly writing style and how he narrates those books, and to me it's obvious that that's a big part of why those books were so successful. This certainly applies to other types of writing too. I bet if I were to paste a caption from your favorite Instagrammer, you would probably know who that person was without seeing their name. If I were to put some lyrics from your favorite songwriter down in front of you, you would probably be able to identify who that person is without actually seeing that they wrote it, because their writing style is that distinct and enjoyable to you. And that doesn't mean you're gonna have necessarily an amazing and unique style the first day you ever sit down to write whatever kind of writing you're getting into. These things take time to develop, and that's okay. And that's why you're doing your free writing every day. You're writing your 750 words, because the more you write, the more you start to develop that style. You'll notice, oh, this is a cool thing I did here. Let's do more of that. Or, oh, I don't really like writing like that as much. Maybe I can shift away from it. But if you want to start developing that style, you have to actually start writing and writing imperfectly. It's really, really important because this shit takes time to develop. Literally, I can tell you as a songwriter, the first like 15 songs I wrote were so embarrassingly fucking terrible. I would never put those out anywhere. But you have to have the shitty songs to get to the good songs, just like with books or blog posts or anything else you write. So start now, that way you can get to that place sooner. Tip number 3 I've got for you today is to read the specific type of writing that you want to get better at. In other words, don't read stuffy nonfiction if you want to write whimsical children's books. Don't read sales page copy if you want to write technical manuals. Don't read technical manuals if you want to write folk songs. And look, obviously you can read whatever you want. I'm not saying there's not value in reading outside of the type of writing you're trying to do, because there is a lot of value in that. But what we want to do is spend the bulk of our time reading and enjoying the types of things that we want to write. That's where you're going to get the most benefit, because you'll be able to study the patterns. So find people who are good writers. If you want to write songs, find songwriters you admire. Fiction, copywriting, whatever it is, find people who are really good at what they do and study their patterns. This is seriously one of the best ways to become a better writer. Which, by the way, shameless little self-promo here. If you want to start studying email newsletter patterns, learn more about copywriting and online business, or just connect with me more, join my free writing and self-improvement newsletter. Here's the link, and I'll throw it down below in the pinned comment, in the description box, basically everywhere. You can't miss it. Over 30,000 writers are on this newsletter. It's not your typical marketing bullshit that's just boring and just more boring tips. It really goes into detail with a lot of freelance writing and copywriting, entrepreneurship topics, and I share a lot of my own personal stuff behind the scenes, managing mental health as a business owner, giving you guys self-improvement tips and just those bigger picture tips for how to really take care of yourself and run a business without burnout, without hustling yourself crazy, things like that. So definitely go sign up. You can see all of the lovely, beautiful emails you guys have sent me about how much you like the newsletter here. So if you're not in the newsletter yet, definitely go ahead and join. It'll take you all of 10 seconds, and it is a once a week newsletter, so I'm looking forward to seeing you there. So back to reading the type of writing you want to get better at. Right now, I'm trying to get better at fiction writing, so I am reading a shit ton of fiction. I literally have a gigantic stack of books over here, just at a frame that you can't see, that I am just like devouring right now, because I am working on writing a fiction novel. And I'm able to kind of study the books I like versus the one I don't, and compare the writing tone, the plot, the characters, all different things to pick up on patterns that I can use when I write my own novel. So it's really all about studying patterns and asking yourself, why does this work? How can I use this approach myself? Obviously, we never ever want to just blatantly straight up copy someone, right? But we can absolutely be inspired from this book and that book, or this blog post and that blog post, and pull inspiration to create something new and make it your own. Tip number 4, now this is a huge one. If you can do this, it's going to improve your writing so much. And this tip is to stop trying to be impressive with your writing. Write to elicit emotion and tell a story instead. Have you ever read something and just thought, holy crap, that was a really pretentious piece of writing. The words were so huge, the sentences were so long, I honestly couldn't even tell you what I just read. Well, if so, you're not alone. It happens a lot, because there's a lot of writing like that out there. And that's what happens when we go for flowery language and try too hard to impress with our word slinging skills. Here's the thing. People want to feel something when they read your writing, and that feeling is not admiration of your unnecessarily complex vocabulary. They want to feel inspired, they want to feel motivated, they want to feel like they're part of a story, or like they understand a character, or like they can relate to the song you've written. Whatever it is, they want that emotion or kind of personal result from your writing. And oftentimes what I've found is that flowery language and trying to impress with your vocabulary gets in the way of that. It's just a lot of extra fluff that we don't really need, especially in copywriting. Oh my gosh, if you're copywriting, if you're trying to be a freelance writer, you gotta take this to heart, because it's super, super important. You gotta focus on the actual goal of your writing. So fiction, tell a story, make someone feel a certain type of way. Copywriting, sell the product. Emo folk songwriting, which I just threw in for fun because that's the type of songs that I write. Give someone a sad song that they can really relate to so that they don't feel alone. In all of these examples, overly flowery prose is gonna get in the way of achieving these actual goals. So we all gotta learn to leave our egos out of it. Yes, you probably won spelling bees when you were little, you loved writing essays, I can relate to a lot of those things, but we've gotta rein in that need to show off our vocabulary and impress and really stick to focusing on the result and the emotion and the storytelling aspect of it. I know for me, all the writers I enjoy the most have a really unique voice and style, which goes back to that tip I gave you guys with the Series of Unfortunate Events book. Having that distinctive style, it's fun to read. I laugh. That's what I want to do when I'm reading a book usually. I want to laugh, I want to have fun, I want to be distracted. That is the goal. So usually the books I like are humorous while sharing life lessons at the same time, which makes sense because that's kind of how I like to write as well. So the bottom line here is do not confuse good writing with complex writing. Those are not the same thing. Now tip number 5 is a good one, and you really need to hear it if you want to improve your writing, because a lot of us struggle with perfectionism, and that tip is to take that pressure off of yourself. As the iconic Jake the dog from Adventure Time once said, sucking at something is actually the first step toward being sort of good at something. Cannot tell you how true that is and how true that has been for me in my life. So true. And I mean that with every type of writing, from business writing to creative writing. Like a blog post I wrote went viral in my niche with over 60,000 shares and tons of traffic. That was not the first blog post I ever wrote. That was way into like starting my blog. It took me a bunch of shitty blog posts to get to that point. Same thing with songwriting. I've already told you guys. I wrote a lot of shitty songs before I wrote the song that I ended up releasing as a single. Probably about 15 or more songs before getting to one where I was like, okay, this is actually good enough to put out there. But those shitty songs had to come first before I could create something good, because it's all about practice and developing your skill set, which means getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and giving yourself permission to be a beginner. I literally tweeted this last year. One of my goals for this year is to write a very shitty novel so that by 2023 I could start writing a good one. I am starting to write what I hope will be a good one this year, so stay tuned for more information on that later. Which is probably a good time to say subscribe to the channel, because you guys will be the first to hear about it. It's really important to remember though that you don't start out any kind of writing career as a beginner just being good at what you do day one. That doesn't happen to anyone, okay? Just the honest truth. The writers who make it are the ones who have decided to be okay with not being the greatest right away. You have to be willing to suck at writing, sometimes very publicly, before you can be great at it. That does not mean just to be like, okay, well, I guess I'm really bad at writing, whatever. You can develop your skill set. You can take classes and courses, but if you do that, I encourage you to take courses specifically on the type of writing you want to get better at. For example, I have a course called YEAH Freelance Blogging. You can learn more if you want at yeahfreelanceblogging.com. I'll also put all the links below. But yeah, I have a course that teaches blog post copywriting. If you wanted to get better at blog post copywriting, that would be a great course for you. If you don't care about that at all and you only want to become a fiction writer, probably not the best course for you, right? So get really specific in what your writing goal is and what you want to achieve, and you can grow that skill set over time. I can tell you I've taken so many writing courses and spent easily 5 figures on courses, coaching, and masterminds since I started my writing business. It is truly the one thing that allowed me to grow my skill set as a marketer, as a writer, as all kinds of stuff. Really, really important to invest in yourself. Invest in your skills, because you are worth it, and the only way that you're going to learn and get better is by practicing and learning from other people who are a little bit further ahead than you. So what is next? Well, if you are looking for my favorite writing and business tools, my own free writing classes, as well as my paid courses, you can check those out in the description box. I've been writing for over 7 years in many different ways, and working online for that same amount of time as well. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below and tell me if any of these tips resonated with you. If you have any other tips you want to share, I would love to hear from you guys in this community, and we can all just share our favorite bits of writing advice and all grow together. And before you leave, make sure to get on my newsletter email list. It is a Thursday afternoon email newsletter. It's really good. I promise it's not just another boring basic marketing free email newsletter. It's really, really worth signing up to. And if you don't like it, all you gotta do is unsubscribe. So very low risk, is totally free. Click below now and sign up for that, or you can go to writingrevolt.com/newsletter and you'll be able to join. And to wrap up, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. It really means the world to me. I love making these videos for you guys, and if you enjoy them too, I would love to hear about that, as well as any ideas you have for future videos. That is all for now, my friend. I'll see you in the next one.